So welcome to video 2 of the casting project. This one's about claying up your item in the box. So there are a couple different ways of doing that. Remember, we need to have a 1/2 inch of material below our part. So the original one's here. That will get us to the final one that we do. We have a bunch of other placeholders as we're making up little pieces. So this one's relying on a piece of 1/2 inch ply that will drop into our box, and then our piece will sit on top of that inside once it's gotten clayed up. It's easier to clay up holding the piece, doing all of that, and then being able to drop it down in the box and then clay it into the box at that point. This version does not have the 1/2 inch piece of plywood, but the styrene is adding the 1/2 inch for us. So simply with that, we take our model. We have a plate of styrene. We try to figure out where we want that plane that we're going to call our parting line to reside. And so we sketch that on. I've taken that to the bandsaw and cut it out roughly. Our part sits in. I came in with files and made it fit a lot better. And then once we're to that point, we're ready. I've glued on little feet. So in this case, it's the 1/2 inch plus whatever the top of the truck dimension was. And then packing clay in, that helps hold the model into place. And then we're able to come in with oil clay. It's a non-hardening, so this is Plastilina. Even Crayola and Prang, they make product. It's a little softer, so in the summer, if it's real hot, you may have some issues. You may have to even refrigerate it to kind of get it hardened up. The Plastilina stays a lot harder for you. So with that, you're kind of coming in, rolling your material, and lightly trying to pack it in, and then taking kind of a flat nose clay tool, where you're able to take the material and just pack it in to the part line that you're wanting. You can kind of smear across there and get a good clean surface. And then once you've done that, all the way around, you just work in sections. You can come back in and kind of clean it up. You want kind of a drafted edge. So as we're packing that down, we have a nice draft to it. And so you're kind of creating this little platform. If our model had a kind of true center line, so for instance, like this X-Acto knife, it's pretty much symmetrical. We're able to just come in and clay right up to that edge, and that gives you a nice crisp part line. Our car doesn't really have that option. So with that one, we just did the same thing, came in and packed the clay into that gap that was there, making sure there are no air holes, because if there is, the liquid material could run down in there. So you just come in, clay it up, get it nice and clean. And then once you've done that, you can come in and clean up with Q-tips. So Q-tips and a little bit of Vaseline here can clean up that surface. The Vaseline kind of helps to melt, if you will, that oil clay. And so you can get a real nice crisp edge right there where we want it. So for our car model, that's what we did, the little truck. We're able to come in, clean up. But I had to raise that shelf up since our part line is kind of coming in at a weird location in between the wheel wells and then that detail. So we kind of have a slight undercut, which should be fine in, the RTV, because it will have a flexible mold that comes off. So we've packed that. Also note that we had to pack the wheels, so there's a void there, so it's a little bit easier to see it in this gray model. So clay was packed down in, same tool, come in and pack it in, and then we'll come in and kind of just do cleanup sweeps, take the Q-tip with Vaseline, wipe that down to clean it. Also, you'll want to come in and we'll create kind of a deeper little V groove. We can use the edge of the tool. We'll probably find something that's a little deeper that will come in. That will just keep our reveal there of having that wheel well as well as the tire being there. We don't want to just pack clay and just have that lost, but we'll be able to kind of create some of that detail. So typically if you're making something, you would have made it such that you didn't have those undercuts and openings. These were just things I'd found on GrabCAD to print off real fast. Another method, instead of using a follow board, is kind of creating it out of clay. That's good for kind of odd shaped parts. So this piece has kind of an ever-changing part line as it sweeps around. So with using the clay, you can come in, keep a good clean piece, and then in this one we were able to just kind of chop it down, and that would be the first side of the mold, and then all that gets removed, the part stays, second part gets poured in. So here's the little truck. We've built up a pretty good wall here of clay. So I would suggest if you're doing that, you're gonna do a real clean, first 1/4 inch all the way around, and then just kind of have it tapering off. Because what was gonna happen is when you're ready, you'll take this and drop it into the box. And then you would go ahead and clay out a wall, kind of like you have here, so that you have a more flat surface. So you'd start claying up from that 1/4 inch that you originally did all the way out to the edge of the box, and do that all the way around. And then once you're at that point, you need to then come in and clay your follow board or clay up and seal everything off. So this is the follow board version dropped into our box, and you can see there's a nice air gap here. Material will roll over into that. So what you do is you take a little snake of your oil clay, drop that in, have a little round nose tool here. And so we can just kind of pack that into it, keep rolling it as we go up the wall. After you've done, a lengthy section, you can just kind of run it and it will fillet that corner, preventing the material, your mold making material from falling down in there and losing volume. You also want to come in and do the wooden corners of the box as well once you've gotten everything. And then the last thing you'll want to do once you've done that, last 2 things, come in again with a Q-tip, clean those surfaces, get everything cleaned up. You have a lot of lumps and a lot of little debris that's been left over from that process. So just take the Q-tip, come in, clean the surface of that box, get everything cleaned up. Before we cast, we'll want to do more of that, but for now you would just do that. The last thing, you can put in little indexing pins in the model so that you know that when you put the model together, the mold, you've got 2 halves, you want to be able to see what those pieces are doing. So those are located things like this. And so the easiest way to do that would be dropping a little piece into the corners, press down enough so that it sticks, take your tool, and you'll come in and just create a 4-sided little pyramid. And then that will just kind of get Vaselined over as well. But that would go on after you've Vaselined everything. You would put those in the 4 corners, and then you'd be ready for your pour. Okay, so that will be our next video. Once these are to that point, we'll